Chris, where does the government stand with red wall voters after the local elections?
Well, it's not going particularly well. I don't think that's a fair point to say. I don't think it's an unfair point to say. The Conservatives have fallen behind in the national polls. They've fallen behind in many of those red wall areas as well, and there's a few reasons for that. The most important one is probably the cost of living crisis. Voters tell us that they're really struggling right now and that they don't think the government is doing enough to help them, and again, particularly in those red wall areas. But the second thing that's also quite important is obviously Partygate and the fact that that has, seriously damaged Boris Johnson's reputation. It's really had an impact on voters' views of him, and it means that they're less likely to trust him on all of those other big issues that he's trying to push through, whether that's levelling up or handling the cost of living crisis or dealing with immigration. So it's not looking particularly well with them. I think the big question is this just midterm blues? Is this what we normally see in the middle of a parliament when things go badly for the government in the middle, but they recover by the time of the next general election? Or is this indicative of something far more significant?
I mean, Boris, Rishi and indeed the Bank of England might well say that putting more pounds in people's pockets right now would only basically be putting fuel on the flames. If you're an economics wonk, you might understand all the machinations of that. I struggle to, I must admit. But is there anything that the government could do? What is it that voters need to be able to feel that sense of trust and connection with the government again?
I do think that they probably need to do something fairly bold on the cost of living crisis to help people. And I'm not an economist particularly either, so not going to sort of use my A-level experience to try and talk about what impacts that might have. But I think voters basically, the most important thing voters want to see is help with their energy bills. That's where it's really hurting people, and it's really hurting those that are struggling the most, the hardest. So I think that's the place where they most want to see help. Is trying to sort of knock some money off the amount they're paying in energy bills each month.